There's a moment when everything shifts, and you'll know it when it happens. Not because the world suddenly becomes easier, or because all your problems magically disappear, but because something fundamental changes in the way you relate to existence itself. You stop pushing against the current and discover that the river was always meant to carry you. Right now, as you're watching this, you might be holding on to something so tightly that your knuckles have gone white. Maybe it's a relationship that ended months ago, but still lives in your mind like a ghost refusing to leave. Maybe it's a dream you've been chasing so desperately that you've forgotten why you wanted it in the first place. Or maybe it's simply the need to control every detail of your life, to have all the answers, to know exactly what comes next. But here's what nobody tells you about letting go. It's not passive. It's not giving up. It's not surrendering to defeat or resigning yourself to whatever happens. Real letting go is one of the most active, conscious, powerful choices you can make. It's the difference between being dragged by life and dancing with it. I want to share something with you that changed everything for me. About 2 years ago, I was sitting in my car after what felt like the 100th rejection. I'd been trying to force a particular outcome for months, convinced that if I just worked harder, pushed more, controlled every variable, I could make it happen. I was exhausted in a way that sleep couldn't fix. My whole body felt like it was carrying the weight of trying to bend reality to my will. That's when I realized something profound. I wasn't actually trying to achieve my goal anymore. I was trying to prove that I could control the uncontrollable. I was fighting a war against the natural flow of life itself, and every day I didn't get what I wanted felt like evidence that I wasn't enough, wasn't worthy, wasn't trying hard enough. So I did something that terrified me more than any failure could. I let go, not of caring about the outcome, but of needing to control how it happened. And within 3 weeks, opportunities started appearing that I never could have orchestrated or even imagined. This isn't some mystical concept or new age wishful thinking. This is about understanding how energy actually works in your life. When you're gripping onto something with desperate need, you're operating from a frequency of lack, of fear, of scarcity. That energy is palpable. People feel it. Opportunities avoid it. The universe itself seems to respond to it by creating more situations that match that vibration. But the moment you release that death grip, something miraculous happens. You create space. And in that space, possibilities that were always there but couldn't reach you suddenly have room to emerge. It's like you've been holding your breath underwater, that the entire ocean was available to you all along. Think, struggling to swim upstream, and you finally surface to discover about the last time you lost something important. Maybe your keys when you were already late, or a document you desperately needed. Remember how you tore apart every drawer, searched every pocket, became increasingly frantic with each passing minute, and then remember what happened when you finally gave up, when you exhaled and said, "I'll deal with this later." How often did the thing you were looking for suddenly appear, sometimes right where you'd already looked multiple times? This isn't coincidence. This is how life works. When you're in a state of desperate searching, of frantic grasping, you literally cannot see what's right in front of you. Your vision narrows, your awareness contracts, and you become blind to everything except your need and your fear of not. And you can only align with what you want when you're not strand getting it. The universe doesn't respond to your desperation. It responds to your alignment, gulling it with your need for it to happen exactly as you've imagined, exactly when you've decided, exactly how you think it should unfold. Here's where it gets really interesting. Most people think letting go means becoming passive, but that's the complete opposite of what actually happens. When you release your grip on outcomes, you don't become less powerful. You become exponentially more powerful, because all the energy you were using to control and manipulate and force is suddenly available for creation, for inspiration, for taking aligned action. There's a difference between inspired action and desperate action. Desperate action comes from fear, from the belief that if you don't make something happen, it won't happen. It's heavy, forced, exhausting. You can feel the strain in every step. Inspired action comes from trust, from knowing that you're part of a larger flow that's already moving in your favor. It's light, natural, energizing. You can feel the support in every move you make. I've watched this pattern play out in every area of life. The person who gets the job is rarely the one who needs it most desperately. It's the one who wants it but doesn't need it to validate their worth. The relationship that lasts isn't built on two people clinging to each other out of fear of being alone. It's created by two whole people choosing to share their completeness. The business that succeeds isn't usually started by someone who's desperately trying to escape their current situation. It's built by someone who's excited about what they're creating, who's so aligned with their vision that they're willing to let it unfold naturally rather than forcing it into existence. This is about understanding the difference between attachment and commitment. Commitment is about showing up, doing the work, staying consistent with your vision and values. Attachment is about needing specific results to happen in specific ways at specific times. You can be deeply committed to something while remaining unattached to exactly how it manifests. When you operate from commitment without attachment, you become magnetic. People want to work with you, help you, support you, because your energy isn't needy or demanding. You're not trying to extract something from every interaction. You're contributing, creating, flowing. The most profound shifts happen not when you finally get what you want, but when you discover you never actually needed it to be happy. This realization hits differently for everyone, but when it arrives, it's unmistakable. You'll find yourself laughing at how seriously you took things that now seem almost trivial, not because they weren't important, but because you've remembered something much more fundamental about who you are. I used to think that letting go meant I had to stop caring, stop trying, stop wanting things. That felt impossible because desire is such a natural part of being human. But that's not what letting go is about at all. It's about changing your relationship with your desires. Instead of being owned by them, you own them. Instead of being driven by them, you are inspired by them. There's this beautiful paradox that emerges when you truly understand this. The things you thought you needed for happiness become bonuses rather than requirements. The love you were desperately seeking starts flowing through you naturally. The success you were chasing begins chasing you. The peace you thought existed somewhere in the future reveals itself to have been here all along. But here's what makes this so challenging for most people. We live in a culture that worships control, that tells us we're the masters of our own destiny, that everything depends on our effort and willpower. And while personal responsibility matters enormously, there's a difference between being responsible for your actions and believing you're responsible for controlling every outcome. You can plant a seed with care and attention. You can water it consistently, ensure it gets proper sunlight, protect it from harsh conditions, but you cannot force it to grow faster than its natural rhythm. You cannot demand that it become exactly the tree you envisioned, rather than the tree it's meant to be. Your job is to create the conditions for growth and then trust the intelligence that knows how to transform a tiny seed into something magnificent. The same principle applies to every aspect of your life. You can take aligned action, make conscious choices, develop your skills, show up consistently. But the moment you start trying to micromanage the universe, you create resistance. You become like someone trying to steer a river instead of learning to navigate it skillfully. This shift from control to flow changes everything about how you experience challenges. When something doesn't go according to your plan, instead of seeing it as evidence that life is working against you, you start to see it as information. Maybe this redirection is showing you something you couldn't see before. Maybe this delay is protecting you from something you're not ready for yet. Maybe this ending is making space for something better to begin. I remember a period when everything in my life seemed to be falling apart simultaneously. My relationship ended, a business partnership dissolved, health issues emerged, friendships changed. At the time, it felt like the universe was playing some cruel joke. But looking back now, I can see that each of those endings was necessary to create space for what was trying to emerge. The person I needed to become couldn't coexist with the life I was trying to hold on to. That's the thing about transformation. It rarely feels comfortable while it's happening. Growth requires you to outgrow your current container, and that process can feel like dissolution before it feels like expansion. But when you learn to trust the process instead of fighting it, even the difficult periods become workable. The universe isn't testing you to see if you're worthy. It's not withholding good things until you prove yourself deserving. It's not punishing you for past mistakes or rewarding you for perfect behavior. The universe is simply responding to what you're broadcasting energetically, and that broadcast changes the moment you shift from grasping to allowing. This doesn't mean becoming passive or giving up on your dreams. It means becoming so secure in your own worth, so connected to your own inner guidance, so trusting of life's intelligence that you can pursue what matters to you, without needing to guarantee specific outcomes. You can want things deeply without needing them desperately. When you reach this state, people notice something different about you. You carry yourself differently. You speak differently. You respond to challenges differently. There's a quality of ease and confidence that can't be faked because it comes from genuine inner knowing rather than external validation. You stop trying to convince people of your value because you're no longer questioning it yourself. You stop defending your choices because you're making them from alignment rather than fear. You stop apologizing for taking up space because you understand that your presence is a gift to the world. This is when the real magic begins to happen. Opportunities start presenting themselves in ways you never expected. Relationships deepen because you're no longer trying to extract security from other people. Your creativity flows more freely because you're not attached to every idea being perfect. Your intuition becomes clearer because you're not drowning it out with the noise of constant worry and planning. The universe has been waiting for you to remember this truth, not because it's been withholding anything from you, but because you had to be ready to receive what was always available. You had to develop the capacity to handle the fullness of what you're capable of experiencing and creating. And now, as this recognition settles into your bones, as this knowing becomes not just an intellectual understanding, but a lived reality, you'll discover that letting go wasn't about losing anything at all. It was about remembering everything you already are. So here you are at the end of this conversation, and something has shifted, hasn't it? Maybe it's subtle, maybe it's profound, but you can feel it. That thing you've been gripping so tightly, that outcome you've been trying to force, that future you've been desperately trying to control, it doesn't feel quite as urgent anymore. Not because you care less, but because you've remembered something more important than any single desire or goal or dream. You've remembered that you're not separate from the flow of life. You are the flow itself, temporarily forgetting its own nature, trying to push against itself. And now that you're beginning to remember, everything becomes possible in ways you never imagined when you were busy trying to make everything happen. The universe has been moving all along, orchestrating synchronicities, aligning circumstances, preparing opportunities, but it needed you to create space for those movements to reach you. It needed you to stop being an obstacle to your own receiving. It needed you to trust what was always true, that you're supported, you're guided, and you're exactly where you need to be, even when it doesn't look like what you expected. So take a breath, release that death grip, feel the relief that comes with remembering you don't have to carry the weight of controlling everything, and then watch what happens when you finally allow the universe to move on your behalf, because it's been waiting for this moment just as much as you have.